Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
In some situations, I choose not to talk about certain things. When do I know it's avoidance and when is it acceptance?
Well, if it was acceptance, you wouldn't hesitate to talk about it. Question?
Is avoiding always something I shouldn't do?
If you have an idea to rob a bank, I think you should avoid that idea. If you have an idea to do something that could be hurtful to yourself or others, I think you ought to avoid that idea. So avoidance is not always something negative. So in your flat, do you have a gas cooker or electric?
Electric.
Yeah. So if you have if the burner's turned on, and you have the idea you ought to touch it to see if it's still hot, you better avoid that idea. A lot of it is, I say a lot of it is common sense, but it's interesting. People have a different relation with common sense. Some people's common sense is very common sense. So if you have any questions, this applies to me. If I have any, if I'm sort of not sure, I check with someone. Yeah. There are certain things I know is a good idea for me to avoid. Yeah. Not they're either or. It's never either or. In relative existence, we see things as either or. Good, bad, right, wrong, yes, no. We see things in opposites. Young, old, healthy, sick. We look at things in these diametrically opposed positions. The truth is that in all situations, all things are true. It's rarely ever this or that. Even if it appears predominantly this, there's always a part of that in it. That's the truth. That's the truth of existence.
That's what I consider gray. Because nothing is black or white.
No. Even if it appears to be so.
It's not.
Correct. Here's an example. So for years, Kenshin and I we were invited to Oregon for years. And when part of our trip out to Oregon was that we visited Oregon State Penitentiary. I have done, Kenshin and I together, we've done talks to the general population. I've done days of practice with them inside. I've done weekend practices with them. I actually made an effort because they had one cell block that was closed off, no one was in it. And so I asked them, I said, look, we're going to do this weekend retreat, how about you let me stay inside? Without locking my door. And they said, well, better not. They didn't want the liability. They also let us up on death row. They don't let people up on. The only people who have access to death row are the guards, the warden, and the chaplain. But they let Kenshin and I go up there. Now, one of the people, we visited 2 people on death row. One person we visited was on death row for killing the woman he was dating and then setting her on fire. Now, on the surface, it looks like a horrendous crime, and it is. And then you look at his background. So he and his brother grew up with a single mom who was drug addicted and a prostitute. I don't know if she was let's keep it simple. There were on more than one occasion where the mother locked him and his brother in the apartment and set the apartment on fire. That happened more than once. So when I look at the whole situation, I go, yes, what he did was heinous. Then when I open it up, I go, oh, look at this, huh? Now, what he did makes sense. It doesn't make it okay, but I understand it. I mean, I see the other side of it. So the whole point of Buddhist practice for me is to be willing to look at things from different angles of perception. Because it's the only way that I'm able to live with the truth of what I've done in war. The hardest thing for me to do when I went on to death row, it was the hardest thing for me to do is to know that I was responsible for more deaths than any of them. I mean, the deaths that I was responsible for were close up and personal. And it was premeditated. You know? And that was hard. It was hard for me to put that together. You know, like, okay, it's okay here, but here it's not okay. That was hard, and it still remains it's a real paradox for me to live with. It wasn't until I was able to take a step, open up my view of things, to be able to look at these actions from different angles of perception, that I began to become more able to work with the paradox of my existence and to find peace with my own peace. I can't do one thing. I can't change one thing about what was. I can only deal with what is. I grew up in a family where, by the age of 10, I'd already been hospitalized 2 or 3 times because of parental abuse, physical abuse, injuries. My mother was the primary abuser. What my mother did to me was criminal. What I do with that, however, is my responsibility. So to wake up, how does those actions, how do I play them out in my life today, and and I can stop that. That can change. So I can heal my mother in me. I can heal my father in me. I can bring an end to war in my lifetime, waking up to the roots of war in me. Yep.
I remember a story you told last year about a glass of water.
Oh, yeah.
And chewing on that.
Yeah.
And what you just said reminds me of that.
You're still chewing on it.
I am still chewing on that.
Yeah. I'll share the story with you. So the first monastery that I lived and studied at, I didn't have an intention to go there to study. I'm talking. What are you doing? I 4 veterans at the Omega Institute in 1990. At the conclusion of this retreat, I was invited to come to the monastery of the monastics who facilitated this retreat. They were Vietnamese, my enemy. But in a moment, when they invited me, there was the monk and his assistant. And then there was another nun there. His assistant was a nun. And I remember what she said to me. She said, "Come to our monastery. Let us help you. We can help you. We want to." No one in this country had ever said that to me, ever, with that kind of sensitivity. I said, well, I was unemployable. I was dangerous and unemployable. And I said, I'd like to come back. I don't have any money. They said, make the commitment, see what happens. So I said, okay, I'll come. And when I was elated, when they said this to me, I burst into tears. I mean, all of this pent-up feelings and things started flooding out of me, and I felt a sense of exhilaration and acceptance. And 2 hours later, my mind took over. My mind said, you know, the only reason they're inviting you to their monastery is when you get there, they're going to put you on trial for war crimes, and they're either going to kill you or put you in prison. Boy, I said, and that was real for me. The feelings and the thoughts were real for me. And I just kept talking to the people I was connected to, the 1 or 2, 3 people that I trusted. And they kept reassuring me that was probably not the case. So I made a commitment to go, and I'd already made a commitment to go, and people started sending me money. Pretty soon I had enough money to buy a round-trip ticket. Then I was faced with another dilemma. Do I actually go to this monastery? Or do I take off to, I don't know, go to the islands, go to South America, go someplace else, like hang out? But I made the commitment, bought the ticket, I went to the monastery. When I landed at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, they had organized to meet me at the airport and transport me across town to get the train to go to where I needed to go. And my mind started to get, my mind started going, okay, here's where it's going to happen. As I walk out the gate, they're going to be waiting there for me, and they're going to gun me down. Didn't happen. But my mind was so, this is how my mind was working to keep me trapped in these repeating cycles, to see the world in such a small, narrow way that prevented me from healing. And healing, healing for me is not the absence of suffering. It's learning to live in a different relation with that suffering. The only way possible for me was to go, well, you know, if they kill me, they kill me. It's done then. Maybe. So I went there with the intention to stay. Well, they picked me up, and then they put me in. I got in this car. They were driving a Mercedes, and they said, "Oh, before we get to the train station, we got to stop and deliver some stuff." And I went, "Oh God, here it goes." They drove into this French public housing complex with a big tall. And I said, "Oh man." They came back, got in the car. Guy turned around, looked at me, and said, "Would you like some chocolate?" You know. I said, no chocolate, man. They got me to the airport. I got to the monastery. They picked me up there, and the story kept going. That story about it just kept playing out. I got to the monastery with the intention to stay there for 3 weeks. I ended up staying for 3 years. In the monastery, it was that point where they were talking about food. We chew each bite of food 50 times. And I'm going, man, that's stupid, man. We're not gonna chew this away, a waste of time, man. It's like, I got things to do, man. I ain't been chewing this what? And I got into this discussion with the abbot, because there were just like a handful of us in this monastery at the time. And the abbot looked at me, talked to me, he said, do you want your life to be different? Something like this. Do you want your life to be different? And I said, well, that's why I'm here. He said, a glass of water in front of me. I went, okay. I took that glass of water, I took a sip of water, and I chewed each sip of water 50 times. You can do it. I mean, it's about making the commitment to do things differently. Yeah. From then on, I had less resistance. The other resistance I had was around bowing. Wow, that was so hard. Until I just surrendered. I just did it. And it was amazing, the relief that I experienced when I stopped imposing my ideas of things, or I stopped interpreting things that were happening around me in the ways in which I was conditioned to. When I confronted Mara is another word for my suffering. When I confronted Mara, and I just surrendered. Just surrendered, stop fighting. It was incredible. Patrick, question?
Yeah.
Short now.
Yes. I function a lot.
Your
more-
question now.
No, I'm just prefacing this. I
Yeah,
function-
okay,
I
not a
function-
big story here.
Should I go or should I stay?
Let's see, that's the clash, I
It
think.
is the clash.
Should I go, or should
Should I stay or should I go?
Should I stay or should I go? That's the clash. Should you stay or should you go?
Mm-hmm.
Here?
Mhm.
Where?
Here.
You have to decide.
I can't.
Well, then you're gonna live in conflict.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
Oh shit.
No. Yeah.
No.
Question.
New York's on fire and this is too quiet. See the problem?
I don't see any problems, but the problems are yours, they're not mine. You have to come to some conclusion with that. You have to come to some decision. Question?
A healthy choice, right?
Can you talk a little bit more about your point of surrender? How you surrender?
I just did. It was a process for me. So with the bowing, I was instructed, like I instruct here, when I approached the meditation hall, to step in with the right foot first, and then taught bowing. I wasn't taught the formal way of bowing that I now teach people, but I was taught to step into the meditation hall with the right foot first and bow, and then walk to my sitting place, bow to my sitting place, bow across. And I said, in my mind, well, I ain't bowing anybody. This is like, F you, man, I ain't bowing. And I'd come up in defiance, I'd come up to meditation, I'd look around and make sure people were watching, and I'd go, I just step in there with my left foot first. And I'd just walk in that meditation hall, At the time my hair was blonde like the ends of your hair and a bit longer. But I kept, I carried this tension with me, and I just, living in that environment, I don't know what happened. But at a certain point, and I can't even tell you when it was at a certain point, I approached the meditation hall, and I looked around to make sure no one was looking. I have an image to protect. And then I bowed. And I stepped in with my right foot first, secretively. And then I did that for a period of time, sort of slinking in there. And one day I said, what are you doing, man? I walked up to the meditation hall. I didn't look around. I stopped. I I stepped in with my right foot first and I bowed. And when I did that, I burst into tears. It was just this huge relief. I just had given up my ideas and things. I'd given up the image and I just gave up. I can't even tell you what I gave up. I just gave up. I surrendered. And that didn't mean I surrendered everything, but it was a step towards living differently. You know, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted my life to be different. I had no idea what that was supposed to look like. And this was a step in that direction. You know, that I created an identity under the illusion that this identity was keeping me safe. It wasn't keeping me safe, it was keeping me trapped. Doesn't matter what I think, say, or believe, it mattered what I did. I mean, there came a point where it was time to leave that monastery because of the way it was growing and developing, and it didn't suit me. But my time there was incredible. It was emotionally painful, and at the same time, it was incredibly revealing and healing. And it was all about not what was happening here, but what I was doing here. Question? Jason?
I understand exactly everything you just said right there. Violence, anger, power, and control have always been all I've known to accomplish something.
Mm-hmm.
And hate authority. So the bowing stuff you're talking about. But my question is it possible to redeem oneself?
There's nothing to redeem.
For past failures and transgressions?
It's how we live today. That's what makes the difference.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to change the past. What I do today, I stop doing those things. Here lies the challenge. So I have a fixed way of dealing with things. Under the illusion that I'm keeping myself safe. And I'm keeping the world around me safe. But I'm not really, I'm just keeping myself trapped in ideas and I'm caught up in an identity and that just continues to perpetuate my suffering. When I stop, for example, when I stop a certain behavior before another behavior fills that space that's left when I stop an old behavior, I'm in this. The way it's defined in Buddhist practices is I'm in a hell realm. They call it the Bardo hell. It's in between existences. So that's where the disciplines that I have, and that's how all of these disciplines and recitations and ceremonies support me. They support me to hold steady through that transition period. From letting go of one behavior and new behaviors sort of beginning to take place. I cannot heal myself. I can only put myself in a position for healing to take place. I cannot redeem anything I've done. The only thing I can do is stop doing that and live differently and without any idea what that means. That shows itself to me. It has shown itself to me through these disciplines that I'm passing on to you. I would not belong. I wouldn't join any groups because they were too organized for me. I was less than a 1%er. The motorcycle I rode, I'm a Harley guy. So the Harley that I was riding was painted black chrome, and I had a rifle case on the side. I had saddlebags and a rifle case. And I had a rifle in that case for the longest, until the Massachusetts State Police stopped me and told me that wasn't a good idea. And so I got rid of I took the gun, I got rid of the gun, but I kept the rifle case there. So when I pulled into this Omega Retreat Center, with all these New Agey kind of touchy-feely kind of folks, I pulled in, it was black Harley Davidson, black motorcycle helmet, and mirror aviator sunglasses, and a bandana over my face, and I was a bandito, man. I pulled in there, and everything was like, it was an image I cultivated to keep people at a distance. And I was the one suffering from that. I think for the first several years that I was, how I ended up in this position is, again, wasn't a choice for me. It's just how my life evolved, by just simply sitting down and really committing myself to this process of turning my attention inward, not to the exclusion of the external world, because I live in the world, but really turning my attention inward. It's a process of awakening. For the first couple of years that I was being invited to speak and leading retreats, I was very stoic. And when, I don't know when it happened, but I took the risk to smile. I took the risk to bring some lightness. I don't know how it happened. It just was an evolutionary process, and it was amazing. Like, in the beginning, I was known as a soldier monk, and then that evolved into me being known as the laughing monk. So I'm still known as a soldier monk, but I'm known as the laughing soldier monk. Yeah. And I found that because there's a real intimacy available through my being willing to engage in that way, and that's what I was really afraid of. I was really afraid of that intimacy, because then I have to, yeah, it's still scary business. Yep.
Balance.
Mm-hmm. It's never a solution.
How do you achieve balance?
Oh, balance.
Yeah.
Balance.
Oh, balance. Oh, yeah. Don't try to figure out where it's at. It'll show itself to you. Balance is, see, this is, again, I always come back. We have a lot of ideas about things. And we have to constantly let go of our ideas of things. Like, balance isn't this sort of neutral. Balance is like, you sit on a teeter-totter. You find that point of balance, and you're never steady. You're never just like this. It's always just moving a bit. Always just moving a bit. And you have to adjust and to find. It's like that. Balance is like that. And balance, there isn't a fixed place that's a balanced place. What's balance for you?
I've never been able to find it.
Yeah, well, that's because you're looking for it. Stop looking for it, practice, and it'll show itself. Really, you'll know.
That's it. No practice.
Well,
I burn myself out in anything.
don't burn yourself out here.
Chasing it, trying to get down the road too fast.
Yeah, well, it's here. You're not gonna. I mean, you can burn yourself out here, but you're not gonna.
All or nothing.
No,
mentality.
I know all or nothing.
It's not been good for me.
I know all or nothing. I have an on switch or an off switch.
All I've ever done is this.
Yeah, well, if you keep doing this,
I want to do this.
well, maybe that's not it. Maybe it's how to do this in a little bit more relaxed way. You know, what can I say? You know, I can't. I just cannot do anything half measure. I can't do it. I have no interest in that. I either do it or I don't do it. I pick up a guitar, I start to play it, I'm gonna be a rock star. Yeah? And really, my energy goes there. Now, I sit just to sit, I walk just to walk. But I do these things. Whether anyone's looking or not, I'm doing them. If I'm here by myself, all the things you see me doing, I do them by myself. Because I do them because they're important to do, not for show. I'm not building a persona. This is my life. I do it just to do it. Because the benefits of that are beyond comprehension, even though there are moments when I'm overwhelmed with great doubt. No, wait. What's the point of this? We sell up all this stuff and buy an RV and get an Ultra and load it on a trailer and take off. Hang out. No, I don't know. That would never be, I couldn't do that. I couldn't just do that. It wouldn't work for me. It would turn into something else. It would. I know that. So I just go, oh, yeah, well, okay. That's why I still do. I do retreats on the street. I live homeless. That's why at my age, I'm out there in the at the end of July, middle of August. I'm up on the roof. I'm crawling under the roof. I'm crawling into spaces nobody can get to do the building work, to put that addition on the house. People go, what are you doing up there? I said, man, I'm just working. I will do what I do until I drop. That's what I'm saying, but I don't know what life has in store for me. But, you know, on switch or off switch, I know. I just do this. I just do it. I don't fuss with it. I don't debate with it. I just, no dilemma. Or I do it with my dilemma. John, you had a question?
You answered.
I did. Okay.
How do you deal
See,
with, you did. How do you deal with suffering and pain and trauma and grief without having it affect you every day?
When you talk about pain, you're talking about emotional pain?
Right.
Suffering.
Like you and everybody in here with their past, things that you dealt with as you were growing up or dealt with in an earlier part of your life that are just...
You know, I can't actually define that process for you. I have all of those things. So last night was, let's say this morning, when it was time to move. It was the first morning I wasn't filled with anxiety enough to, you know, I've been cranked up. But I've learned not to surrender to that anxiety. And then this is a process. See, people keep looking for the fix. They keep saying, oh, if I take this or I take this, it'll get rid of this. But it doesn't get rid of it, it just masks it. It's all that businesses, all of that, whatever is going on is still going on. I'm just not conscious of it. And I just got sick and tired of Band-Aids. So when I stopped getting high, so in the beginning, when I was still using. I was in therapy, and I was lying to the psychiatrist. And I was going, well, I'd come into his office, man, I'd be high, I'd be so high, man. I'd come into his office, and he wouldn't say anything. And I go, I'd leave there, and I go, "Son, he didn't know. He didn't get it. He told me I had to stop it. He didn't say, I'm okay." That's the story I was telling myself. And he was talking about different medications and things, and I tried some of those things, but man, I don't like them. They weren't as good as what I was doing. So one day I came in, and I think this was after I got out of treatment. I went to a drug and alcohol treatment and quit getting high, and I stayed stopped. But I came into his office, and he was talking about drugs again, because my behavior was still pretty erratic. And I came in one day with a list of drugs. I said, "Now, here's a list. If you'll give me any, I'll take these. If you give me any of these drugs, I'll take them." He looked at that and he said, "No, I can't give you those." I said, "Then we're done with this. No drugs." So nothing prescribed, nothing illegal. I did it clean. I think for the first 7 years of not taking any drugs, I didn't even take a multiple vitamin, because I was so used to doing this and getting some effect. And so it set my mind in action. I had to stop. I know that in these periods of time when I get really hypervigilant, they're more calm today than they were. If I talk to a healthcare professional who doesn't know about post-traumatic stress, they're going to look at me and tell me that I'm manic. If I talk out loud about the flashbacks that I have, I don't have them so often, but they still happen. If I talk to someone who's not knowledgeable, they're gonna think that either I'm borderline psychotic or I'm schizoaffective. They're gonna put a label on me so that they have an idea of what's happening, so that it fits their education. But it's not the truth. It's just how post-traumatic stress shows itself. It can masquerade itself as any number of mental health issues. It's if the helping professional does not have information about this, then they'll misinterpret what's happening. And it's no fault of their own. They just don't know. And a lot of the reason people go into those professions is so that they can wrap themselves up in some idea of knowing. Well, I have this education. I know it's really about protecting themselves. So what I do, I just say out loud, I have connection with some people. I talk. I can't. I'm considered a subject matter expert, worldwide subject matter expert in post-traumatic stress. I cannot that's what other people put on me. I can't identify myself like that and then think, because what happens is you wrap yourself up in that and you go, oh, well, I can't ever talk about this because then what do people think? And this is about sitting just to sit, walking just to walk, not keeping letting people know. So I talk out loud. The anxiety is, how many, Kenshin, before you, oh, go ahead. A few years back now, 5 or 6 maybe, we were traveling. Kenshin and I traveled a great deal. And Kenshin fell critically ill while we were in Long Island. we're out there. Our commitments, we don't have health insurance, we don't have income. We live on the support of communities around us. The people who were hosting us, fortunately, were able to be helpful. I got up into the Boston area because I still knew my way around up there. And we got her to a doctor, we got her in a hospital. I got her into a situation where she could get the care and support she needed, even though it was a challenge for her. And I did not sleep for 60 hours. You know, it was like I was right in the midst of I was in the midst of an operation. I couldn't sleep. Now I'm sure I dozed off here and there. I'm sure I did. But if I would have talked to a healthcare professional, and people knew, I mean, I talked to people. Because not only was I in the midst of an operation, but also I was back in combat. Everything around me was like that. You know, Kenshin was wounded. And we were out, Kenshin, I think the very first day that I was with the 116th Assault Helicopter Company, I think it could have been the second day, but I was being sort of acclimated to, I never saw a helicopter. You know, I know anything about them. So I had a crew chief, and he was sort of, it was just, we're going to do pass runs, and we were going to do pass runs, resupply mail, that sort of thing. But our unit had gotten into a really heavy situation, and they called us, and they needed replacements. Because I wasn't supposed, I didn't know, you know, I wasn't supposed to be in, we weren't supposed to be in that right away. We were thrown right in it. We got shot down, we were down all night. That's what, I was reliving that while I was going through this attention. Because we were out there I was in the jungle, man. Crashed helicopter with a dead crewman and a wounded crewman, and there was just nothing to do and nowhere to turn. I had to just function, to take care of the best I could. Training didn't prepare me for that. Playing cowboys and Native Americans in the woods, they prepared me for that. All my time running around out in the swamps, they prepared me for that. But I was reliving that. I was going through that. But there were people I could talk to. I called up a few other guys I knew, and they understood. I could tell them. I called up another person close to me who wasn't a vet, but he wasn't like freaked out about it. And so we have to be cautious. So healing, I have to be willing to just have those experiences, not try to get rid of them. And through the process, I learned that, oh yes, I can have these. They're not going to kill me. They're not going to destroy me. And when they pass, I'm stronger for that, and I have more resilience when they come again, because they will come again. Mm-hmm. So I've had them happen. 2 years ago, I was working on one of the houses down here in the middle of summer, and I had to go up in the attic. It was hot, man, hot and steamy, and as I crawled up in the attic, I'm a helicopter door gunner. I changed my MOS, became a crew chief, but I was still a door gunner. But I was a short guy, and I'm only 5'8", so, and we were working with one infantry unit, and we were shut down. They were doing some stuff, and they found tunnels, and they needed someone to go down in the tunnels. You know, and I was invited to go to. I was good with a pistol. I was good with a pistol, and I was good with a knife. They asked me to go down in the tunnels. I said, okay. You know, you just didn't think about stuff, you just did it. But so the anxiety I feel now, I must have had that then. And just walked it down. Now I didn't do that with regularity. It happened on that occasion. Yes, so all things that come into existence will pass away. As I was going up into that attic, all of a sudden, bam! I was right back into dropping into that tunnel. You know, and I wrote about it. I haven't shared that out loud yet. I'll read the story when we share our story later today. It will pass. You don't have to do this alone. It's not easy, it's not comfortable, but we can't find peace without our peacefulness.
So you try to push it aside and just ignore it?
Won't work.
You just pay attention to it and then wait till it goes away?
Well, it'll pass. It won't go away. It passes.
Yes.
Yes. Because everything I push to the side, it gains strength from not being revealed. It gains strength. So the next time it shows up, it's stronger. It takes more effort to get rid of it. You know. I have to run faster. I have to drive faster. I have to act crazier. I have to amp up all of that to keep that at bay. Eventually it overtakes me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I surrendered, I just stepped in with my right foot and bowed. It didn't disappear, but there was this release. Oh my! I cannot describe it. I've experienced that on a number of occasions. And this one, I invited her to assist me, right? I tell you, Kenshin is one of the most incredible, courageous women I know. Really. Kenshin gave up her country, her language, her customs. She gave up everything every sort of external trapping of security to come and assist me in this practice. The first retreat she assisted me on, we walked from Yonkers, New York to San Francisco. That was that was her first retreat. You know? And she wasn't a sports person. She hadn't really done anything like that. She rode a bicycle around with her. Yeah. And since that first pilgrimage, she's walked an additional 35,000 miles with me.
Really?
Yeah, but I think we've walked around 41,000 miles all around the world. All kinds of conditions. You know, and I've watched her deal with suffering, her own suffering. You know, I've had to work with that because of the way it's impacted the dynamic, the way it's shown itself. It's not always pretty, but I'm willing. So I'm willing to not play out my suffering as a way of, through her courage and her willingness to allow her suffering to be present, I get to look more closely at how I'm conditioned to react to that. That's my suffering, and that gives me an opportunity to heal. In those moments, she becomes my teacher. Because there have been moments where I wanted to throw her down the well. I'm serious. That's my reaction to what was being presented. And to just not do that. To just be present with that level of discomfort that I had. So that it could, and through the process of not hiding from it, not rejecting it, or not allowing it, or not reacting to it. Just be present with it. That's meditation practice. Meditation practice isn't just sitting, it's a daily life. I'm giving you the foundations here. I'm passing those on to you. The foundation is really breath awareness. And how that manifests itself in everything we do. But yes, the transformation happens. I can't tell you how. I know people are so invested in figuring the whole thing out. And I go, okay, you can do that. But you can figure it all out, but you still, you can't, there's no formula. It's different for you than it is for me, than it is for Erica, it is for Nicola, for Keith. Now, so this, what you just witnessed, is a big deal for me. So I can, so it's Becky, John, Jason, it's Patrick, Erica, Kenshin, Nicola, and Keith. Yeah. Until just recently, I couldn't remember names. I didn't want to know your name. Yeah, because they got me too close. Because something was gonna get messed up. And then I was gonna have to feel. But I was feeling anyway, I just was denying it. So I've worked hard. And sometimes it works. Sometimes I have to go, I go, Stephanie, no, Becky. I go, oh, okay, Becky. And I have to be okay with making mistakes. Question?
Do you miss being a soldier?
Excuse me?
Do you miss being a soldier?
I still am.
Wow.
It just changes. It just shows itself differently. Also, I studied and taught martial arts for 27 years. I haven't practiced kicks and punches since 1989. Doesn't make me any less a martial artist. That if you go out to the carport, you stand in the driveway, facing the house and look at the carport. In August, I fell off the roof. So I was they were working on the roof, and I was helping the roofing guys. Check this out, man. I'm carrying all these heavy loads up the ladder, right? I can do it, I still do it. Remember, on switch or off switch. So I had this roll roofing, which is really heavy, but not too heavy. So I'm carrying it up the ladder, and I get up to the top, and as I'm making the transition from the ladder to the roof, the weight shifted, and I started to fall off backwards. Now, there's a dumpster there, it's concrete, this is a construction site. Now this is incredible, right? So as I was starting to fall backwards, I dumped the load, spun around, picked a spot, because I had built a ramp it was out of plywood, it has some flexibility, picked the spot, and jumped down on that spot. When I hit that, I did a modified PLF. I couldn't do a whole one because that would have put me into a stack of bricks. I did a modified PLF, and my martial arts training came through. Because when you ki-eye, it's when you let your breath out. And it's like to absorb a blow or to give you strength. So when I landed, I did a modified PLF, parachute landing fall. The modified PLF and ki-eye. So I went off of that thing, and didn't hurt him. My knee was swollen, my ankle was, I didn't break any bones. Well, that's actually not true. I did break a bone, but I didn't know that until like 2 months later. I cracked a bone in my leg, but it didn't hamper me. I went and put some ice on, did all that stuff, and then went out and crawled back up the ladder. I would have actually gone back to work, but the people, I was laboring for the bricklayers, and the guy was the head of that said, "Hey, listen, if you don't go in there and take care of yourself, I'm leaving." And I need to get this brickwork done. I said, okay, I'm going in, I'll see you. He was good. And the two guys, and this is interesting too, there's the two guys that were working here, that I worked with on there, hardcore drug addict. One guy is on methadone. Not only, but he's on methadone. And the other guy was, you could see the scars from the abscess from shooting, from injecting oxycodone. He wasn't doing that anymore. He was just getting drunk all the time.
So it's okay to still be a soldier?
Yeah. I mean, we are. It's just how does that transform? Okay, so 1989, I quit practicing. I had 5 schools in the Boston area. One of the schools I had was in Reading, Massachusetts. Well, Framingham, Massachusetts. I had one in Reading, but Framingham. And in the school in Framingham, I had an open night where people from all over the Boston area could come, regardless of their style, and we studied. But it was for people that rank black belt or higher. Black belt and up. One of the trainings we did is you'd be in a circle, and one person would be in the center of the circle, and they'd have to fight everyone in the circle. 2 minutes, no contact. That's why I'm there, because sooner or later someone's going to hit somebody. But I heard it was a person talking to another person in the circle. I overheard this, and they said, my superior years, but I can kick your butt. They didn't say butt. And something happened when I heard that. I just had this moment of clarity. I said, I don't want to be about that. That's not what I want to be about. Because violence is not a solution. Violence is not a solution. Between that awareness, once I had that awareness, within 2 days, I divested myself of all those schools, took off my gi, and never put it on again. But interesting, right? From the gi to this. How transformation takes place. No intention. It just evolved like that. I'm still a martial artist. That energy's still there. That energy, that military energy, saved me on that, come off that roof. That military, that soldier in me really served me well as we're out on the road, walking. So how to work with it? If I attempt to get rid of it, then how to work with it in a conscious way? That's the task. To recognize it when it's showing itself and how to work with it consciously. Time to bring this to a close. This has been very engaging. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the questions. They're so very helpful to me. Your questions are helpful to me. So I appreciate it deeply. And I'll say, as we have this time together, don't keep questions to yourself. There's no question that can't be asked. None. There's no dumb question. The only dumb question is the one not asked. So from here, we'll move to the next form of practice, writing. So we'll do writing practice, then.
And we meet at 125 back on the place in the dining room table.
Yes.
For eating meditation.
Then eating meditation, and then this afternoon we'll read.
Instructions on writing.
Write just to write.
That's right.
This afternoon we'll read.
Read what you've written. Yes. No, and when I say I want you to read what you've written, I don't want any free associated. I've had it happen in groups where people will they'll hold a paper in front of them, but then they're just talking. They're not reading anything. They're free associating. If you're free associating here and not reading, I will stop you. It's very important to write and to read what we've written. It just is important.
We're gonna do that here or with our small group?
Right here.
Oh, shit.
This will be the small group, because I will be a part of it. I'm just laughing because I just heard when I went, Kenshin took me up to the emergency care place up here. The doctor saw me, said, "What happened?" So I fell off the roof, looked at me and said, "What are you doing on the roof?" Said, "You're too old for that." And I said, told him, I said, "Man, get out of here. You're too old." Who told you? Don't talk to me about that. Shut up. But see, that's what I wanted to say, and I said
it. Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.